if I can find some power in this, some way to get through this, that right there will be the fuel for the rest of my life. Once you take control of your mind, you start making decisions for yourself versus your mind making decisions for you. Through hard work, you can outwork anybody, no matter how badass they are. But that's the part people don't want to dive into.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn how to train your mind to never quit with David Goggins. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Overcome yourself.
I realized that God wasn't going to give me a get out of jail free card. And from the time I was born and to the time I was 19 years old, my life had these hurdles. I constantly hit obstacles, obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And I had to figure out how to manage suffering, how to deal with it, because it'd be part of my life forever. At least that's what I thought. So in order to deal with it, I had to be able to conquer it and overcome it and deal with it and know that in this suffering, there has to be some kind of growth. With every obstacle, I look at it as friction now. Without friction, there is no growth. You have to have friction in your life to grow. So I started looking at all these different things versus the woe is me mentality. Like, oh my God, look at my life. My life's so f***ed up. I come from this f***ed up family. I'm being beaten. I'm being abused mentally, physically. I started looking at it as the perfect trial ground. So I had to flip it upside down and say, okay, I'm suffering tremendously, mentally. Use this to your advantage versus your disadvantage. So that's what I did. Versus looking at it as like, oh my God, woe is me, I'm never gonna get out of here. I looked at it as, okay, hang on a second. If I can overcome this, if I can find some power in this, some way to get through this, that right there will be the fuel for the rest of my life. And so I found great strength in suffering. Great strength in it because why? Through all of that, it started to callous my mind over the victim's mentality. This whole thing about suffering, yeah, it sucks. Really bad. Really, really bad. But we all live on this side of suffering. On this side, this nice box that's very comfortable, that we know when everything's gonna happen. We're in it, it's good. We know how everything's gonna turn out. It's those few people who are willing to go on this side of suffering. And once they get through that, ask him how he feels now. His mind, how far he grew. In that short period of time, he grew so much more than the normal person because he was willing to go outside himself. Because on the other end of suffering is greatness. It's not over here. So a whole bunch of us, we put ourselves in this great box. And in that box, there's no suffering in it. So what we do is we shelter ourselves from greatness. So for me, for instance, I was 300 damn pounds at one time in my life. Sprayed for cockroaches, made $1,000 a month. I was living in that box. I would sometimes look over the box and I saw hell, suffering, storms, avalanches, tornadoes. I don't want to go over there, but I knew if I can get through that shit mentally, on the other side was a 185-pound person who's a Navy SEAL, went through Ranger School. Only person to do this, only person to do that, only person to do this. But that's through all of that shit. All that shit I have to go through. So you peek over the box and you go back in and say, oh, I'm okay being 300 pounds, making $1,000 a month. Right. I'm okay over here. And on the other side is where you start to really start your journey. People think they start their journey because they're born. No, there's a lot of people in graves who have lived 100 years and have never started their real journey. Your real journey starts when you go outside that box and you start climbing mountains. And you think you're at the top of the mountain, you go down the other side of it, you think, I'm here, and you look up, there's another mountain. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. And just when you're getting ready to quit, you crest that final mountain, you get down and you look, And there you are. And it starts to make sense to you then. It doesn't make sense to you until you get outside that box. I'll talk to so many people, and what I say is not for everybody. So many people don't have any clue on what the I'm saying because they're in this box, and it's their brain. You first must go through suffering to find that great peace we're all looking for. A lot of us want to have, there's a lot of books out there about this 5 steps. Do this, do this, do this, get there. No, man, it's not that easy. To find real, permanent peace and enlightenment, you must go to the dark side of who you are. I could have easily just shoved my whole life under a rug and went straight to peace. Are you happy there? You overcame nothing. You jumped hell, you skipped hell, you forego this part of your life, you skip it and go right to peace. So you always have this thing back here that's haunting you, and that's that darkness. You must go into the darkness to truly find that light that you're looking for, because that's what's on the other side of that. People get it all wrong, man. You have to face suffering. You have to face this dark side, this darkness. And there's a lot of energy in there. There's a lot of goodness in there that you can use to find greatness. But you cannot find your peace you're looking for in yourself until you've overcome yourself.
Rule number 2, keep getting up.
Growing up, being the kid I was, I found strength in different movies.
Yeah.
So I come home, in one movie I found a lot of strength, and as funny as it may seem, but I visualize this scene. I do it today during the pull-up record. I did 4,030 pull-ups.
Yeah.
The last time I did it, I actually got it. It took me 3 times. I played one song for 17 hours pretty much. It's from this movie, Rocky 1, round 14. I related to the person in the movie, but just the one scene when Apollo's beating the shit out of Rocky. He falls in the corner, and everybody, and Rocky, and Apollo turns around, arms up, happy as shit. I got this guy. He turns around not knowing that Rocky's trying to get up off the canvas. Right. Mickey's his trainer saying, stay down. Right. Everybody's saying, you did good. You did good. You went 14 rounds with the champ. Rocky didn't hear shit. He got up, and what sticks in my mind today, and I'm seeing it right now, when he got up, Apollo starts to turn around to see the aftermath of what the he just destroyed. And he did not expect to see what he saw.
Right.
And what I see out of the whole movie, I see Apollo Creed's face.
Yeah, fear crept in.
Yes.
Yep.
And I said to myself as a young kid, I want to be that. I don't need to win. I don't need trophies. I don't need people to like me. I just want what he has.
Yeah.
A fictional character, whatever the hell it was, I want that. And I visualized that. And I want to become the guy who can get off the canvas and look at somebody who beat the shit out of him. Life.
Yeah.
I'm talking about life right now.
Yeah.
In life, even life itself puts their head down towards
Says,
David Goggins.
Yeah.
This is not going to stop.
Right.
So that mentality became what I wanted.
Nice.
And that's how it started, with that visualization of the canvas. And all I got to do is just keep getting up.
Rule number 3, reprogram your brain.
Our mind wants to protect us. The mind is like, honestly, it has a tactical advantage over us. It knows our deepest, darkest fears or insecurities. It knows where we start to feel, we start getting that doubt creeping that says, hey man, you know what, man, maybe this isn't good. Let's go back home to the wife. Let's go back home to the kids. This is not comfortable. So in that moment, the mind directs us. It's a protective mechanism. It saves us from doing bodily harm, or it really saves us from discovering that the mind's like, I want to be in charge of you. I don't want you to be in charge of me. So it tells you, let's just stop right here. But once you start breaking through that barrier and start breaking down that governor that you've put in your mind, because we forget we are in control of our mind. We believe it's the other way around. No, we put in our minds what we should do, but we believe our mind is telling us, it's giving us all this feedback. We have to reprogram it and tell us, no, we're good. We're good, this sucks, but it's okay.
Rule number 4, take control of your mind.
I'm the only person in the history of Navy SEAL training to go through 3 hell weeks in 1 year.
Can you explain a little bit what hell week is? Because I heard it on your audiobook a lot.
Yeah,
and it just sounds like a painful moment that very few people are able to handle it.
It is a very long, painful moment. So I don't know what week it is, but for me, it was my 3rd week. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's your 3rd, 4th, or 5th week in Navy SEAL training. Navy SEAL training is 6 months long. And this is like the biggest crucible in Navy SEAL. It probably in all of Special Forces, Special Ops. It's 130 hours of continuous training. And you might get 2 hours of sleep. And the whole idea is you start on Sunday and you end on Friday. You might get 2 hours of sleep. And the whole idea of this training is to get a man and break him down to nothing. And that's where you see what a man's made of. So to make it through 1, most people say, I'm never going back through again. So I was fortunate, God blessed me. So I started looking at these failures as blessings. Because with all these failures and all these bullies and all these being abused and my learning disabilities and stuttering and everything I had in my life, they are really gifts.
Yeah.
They're gifts. And it's not some psychological babble bullshit that I'm using to say, oh no, my life wasn't that bad. No, my life sucked. But they truly were gifts because all these different trials and tribulations led my mind to where it's at now. So Hell Week, once again, 130 hours. You get 2 hours of sleep maybe, and they beat the shit out of you. Beating like push-ups, sit-ups. And it's near the Pacific Ocean. So you're out in the Pacific Ocean, back in, and that water's freezing. And so you see these men, these great men that I watched on TV, I'm now with them. And for the longest time, I put people who had better childhoods, better grades, better this, better that, I put them all above me. But now I'm on the same playing field as them. So when you get on the same playing field as these men who you think are better than you look at them eye to eye, mm-hmm. and you realize that they're not. So once again, I'm starting to do all this live autopsy shit, like saying, God, man, you were mind yourself your whole life, thinking that this person came from a nicer house, better education, better mom, better dad, and they're better than you. It's not the case. You have this in you. You may have to dig a little deeper to find it. You know, their family may have started them off a lot better than you, mm-hmm. but it's there.
Yeah.
It's there. So I started really realizing how powerful the mind was in that 3rd Hell Week. So I went down to the gym, and there's this like crazy elliptical trainer, but it's not a normal elliptical trainer. It's one that you like almost self-power. It's very...
Yeah, it's not electric.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I got on that thing, and I realized, man, this shit sucks. And after like 2 minutes, I'm like, I don't want to do this. So right then I realized, it looks like we're going to be here for a while. So I did that for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not saying do that, but that's something I did today. Once my mind said, you know what, let's not do this today. I said, well, since my mind went there, I redirected it and said, just for having that weak thought, we're going to be on here for a while.
Right. So it does sort of sound like you're punishing part of your mind in a way.
Punishment, maybe not be the right word.
Yeah.
I want my mind to know who's in charge. So for the better part of 26 years, my mind was in charge of me.
Yeah.
Which is why I made all these horrible decisions. Once you take control of your mind, you start making decisions for yourself versus your mind making decisions for you.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, outwork everyone.
Where I got my work ethic from was the hours I had to spend learning this. when you sit down and you're not smart, and you have a disability, and you still want to be at the top of your class, I didn't want to just get by. When I realized that I can learn through hard work, and I can beat the valedictorian in school, but I got put in 10 hours more a day than he does. You know what kind of strength comes from that? When you're sitting down, that guy, that valedictorian studied for an hour, and you know I caught you, and I am dumb, but I have the work ethic to catch you. That's where David Goggins got really invented. Was at a kitchen table with 20 spiral notebooks that were empty. And then 3 months later, they were full. And when you can go through that, I still have them in my storage unit. You go through these spiral notebooks of your life, and you realize this is how I learned. This is unbelievable. There's no miles. It's not about the miles. It's that, having a discipline every day to say, for me to learn this one math problem, it's gonna take me 10 hours.
Wow.
And that's where and you realize through hard work, you can outwork anybody, no matter how badass they are. But that's the part people don't want to dive into.
Rule number 6, develop a crazy work ethic.
Different mindset. I turn negatives into positives. So I would take it like, who would even think about doing this? So I would sit on my couch saying, who at 297, who can't swim that great, who's scared of the water, would have the balls, who had the balls to man up, quit a job, and go and to put everything on himself. So it's how I started talking to myself and putting myself in a whole different category, and that would fuel me the next day, and I just kept using that as fuel. No one would do this. No one would do this. You're the best around. You're the best ever live. And I just kept fueling me with the right kind of message that I needed to hear that I was never telling myself. And through time, it became reality to myself.
So you start out on the first day, and then do you start running again the second day?
Yeah, the second day I went right back after it again. But I started realizing I can't run that far.
Right.
So what I did was I became damn near a professional cyclist with the miles I put on the bike. So whenever I watched TV, I had to be doing something. So I was riding the bike. I rode a bike a lot to lose the first initial kind of weight because my bones were just hurting so bad. My body was just broken. And I learned to get over that also. And I tried to swim a lot. I wasn't a great swimmer, but putting fins on kind of equalized my body. I wasn't so negative buoyant. So I started finning a whole bunch. And I spent hours in the pool, trying to get more and more comfortable. Not because I was going underwater. I was so scared of the water that I had to live in the water. I had to become one with the water. So going to the pool used to scare me. So I went to the pool an awful lot. And then the bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from like 1 mile. 1 mile was a great accomplishment. 2 miles. And then from 2 to 3 was a big one. Then I went from 3 to 6. And then like they have a warning order that they give people to get ready for buds. And the whole thing was running 6 miles 5 days a week. And that was my goal. And so I failed, I go back to scratch. I use some positive motivation. I have like one day where I'm like defeated. But I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I had to realize this is part of my process versus just saying, like I used to, I'm just not good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that I'm just not good enough, and then we try something else. I'm going to make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I'm gonna make myself good enough. And so I'm misunderstood a lot, but that's all it came down to. I made myself good enough. And the days I couldn't run that far, the next week, I would do 2-a-days. So on the running, if I ran a quarter of a mile, I wait a couple hours, it'd haunt me, bother me. I try to run a half mile the next time, same day. You can do more than this. If I had to walk, I had to walk. It just became just a process of grinding, and grinding is not even a good word for it. It's not even a good word for it. And just going further and further. And then when I got through running, I go to the bike. I go to the pool. If I got tired somewhere, my legs were tired, I go to the gym. And I developed this crazy workout where I was doing volume, like 200-300 reps of like very lightweight. People always say, how come you don't have any like loose skin? My workout routine in the gym became sick. It became sick. I was just doing 200-300 reps, 400 reps on like chest, just like for one simple exercise, the bench press. And I would rack it, get back on it, just rep it out, trying to burn as many calories as I can, build that muscle mass. And I just became obsessed with it.
Rule number 7, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
When I turned that Spanish notebook in, so I was in Spanish class, obviously, opened my notebook up and said, nigger, we're gonna kill you. Had a drawing of me and actually talked to the principal, because I'm in the process of writing my book right now. His name is Kurt Freeman. He goes, yeah, I talked to him 2 days ago.
No kidding.
He said, I remember like it was yesterday. So I left my class, just didn't tell a teacher, went right to his office and showed him it, and he said, and I wasn't a good speller at all, obviously. I copied. And they spelled nigger Niger. I didn't know how to spell a nigger, you know what I'm saying? They spelled nigger Niger. So he looked at me and said, they're ignorant. And that was the best advice he can give me. Yeah. My mom was working 3 jobs. I was a latchkey kid. I was on my own. I did my own thing, man. I missed almost all of my junior year of high school, never went to school, just did my own thing. And that was a turning point when I really realized I was on my own. I mean, it just kind of hit me. Like, the best advice you can give me is just spell nigger Niger. And pretty much, I think he called my mom up and I went back to class. And I realized that life isn't fair. It's not fair. And you better figure out some tools and some ways to stop feeling sorry for yourself, because no one is coming to rescue you. No one feels sorry for you.
Right.
And at the end of the day, no one really cared about me. That's how it felt. That was the reality of it.
Rule number 8, build mental toughness.
SEAL training became pretty hard and a lot of guys weren't getting through it. So they designed a SEAL prep program.
Like a boot camp for the boot camp.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was 2 months. In my last 2 years before I retired from the military, they sent me there to train these kids.
Wow.
To get ready for
18,
buds.
19, 20-year-olds, yeah.
Young kids. So when they get to Navy SEAL training, man, they were physical studs. They were running, swimming. I mean, they were hybrids.
Wow.
But they get to buds, and the same amount of people would quit.
Why is that?
This is why. We were training bigger, stronger, faster quitters. It's not about...
Not the mind.
That's right. We weren't diving into the sewer. Everybody's got a story. We don't share it on social media. We share our nice life on social media. We all have a dungeon. I'm just willing to talk about mine.
Yeah.
Most of us aren't willing to talk about it. I want to talk about my dungeon. I wasn't getting into the dungeon of these guys' minds. I wasn't building that so-called mental toughness. Mental toughness isn't something that you sample. It's something that you live in every day. So when something hard would happen to these kids, like in Hell Week, it would draw on something that made them very insecure. And they look for comfort. Whenever hardness comes, and you don't know what it is, it may be different for you than it is for me, but you go back to your insecurities. And then when you go back to your insecurities, you then look for comfort within those insecurities. And we all look for that cookie that your mom used to give you when you were sad, when you were sick. We look for our wife or our husband. We look for comfort. It's in those moments you must retrain your mind to think differently in hell. I wasn't training them to do that.
Why weren't you training them?
I wasn't training myself yet, because at that time, I was doing what I was told. These guys need to meet a standard.
Physical standard.
A physical standard. The physical standard is not what they need to meet. It's a mental standard you must meet in life. So going back to when I was sick, I was hitting the physical standards. I wasn't meeting the mental standard. The mental standard is you must know how far you've come.
Wow.
I had come 8,000 miles from where I started. But if you never know that, you're still in the $7 a month place. When I was sick, I was able to slow it down and reflect back on my entire life. And in that bed, when I thought I was dying, because that story is long, that sick portion of my life is long, I didn't care if I died or lived.
Wow.
Because I was, for the first time in my life, happy.
Wow.
And at peace. Because I reflected back on where I started.
Rule number 9, develop discipline.
I prioritize trying to win the battle in the morning. So I always win the battle in the morning. So I get up in the morning time, every morning I go for a run. That's the first thing I do every morning. Haven't taken a day off of running since December 2016. I've every day, up in the morning. So I also stretch out every day for about 2 to 3 hours, every day. I've missed 2 days in about 5.5, 6 years. So that's just my routine. And about 4 days a week, I'm in the gym hitting the weights. Because you can't just be a runner. So this is every single day, the monotony of my life. But this is what builds discipline. And not everybody, I'm not telling everybody to do this, but this is my lifestyle. This is how I build self-discipline.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be present.
I have to be very present in everything I do. Like right now, I'm with Rich Roll. I'm not thinking about shit, but Rich Roll. And what the fuck's coming out of your mouth right now? That's what gives me a huge advantage in life, especially today, in this day and age, with so much going so fast and everybody wants to keep everything going, everything up and everything. I want to be the greatest multitasker of all time. Not me. If I put my 100% into what's in front of me, I will destroy it. If I'm out here just multitasking and I'm going to half-ass everything I do. So it is the most important thing in the world to me, is being focused at the task at hand.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, the science says you have a 35% chance of actually following through on your goals. That's not good enough. No, not for you, Believe Nation. We gotta do something. But when you write it down and you create a specific plan of action for the next week, that number jumps to 91% chance of you following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like leaving a comment on this video, it jumps to 95%. You need to follow through on your goals. So what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your specific plan of action for the next week? Put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you.
Well, there's something that I invented a long time ago. And when you have nothing to draw from, I was able to find strength in every molecule of this earth. I'm able to be in a room with nothing, with no motivation, no inspiration, nothing, and find it. So what I did in those situations was I invented this thing called taking souls. When everybody's all fucked up and you're exhausted and you're weak and you're tired and you're looking around and everybody looks as bad as you or even worse, I'm like, you know what? I want to now make a statement. It's the perfect time to make a statement. To make a statement to let you know where your life ends and mine begins. And so the statement there is, I muster up every bit of strength from their looks on their faces and how they feel, and how I'm gonna now, from my childhood, where I came from, how I was the bottom of the barrel, I'm now amongst all these uncommon people. I'm now going to now make you feel like you're common. So I used their sadness, their weakness, their parts of their life where, God, this sucks. I'm like all poopy pants and messed up. I use that for my strength. And I have this moment of like, let's say we're in the sand, we're running or whatever. I will do a surge. I will do something when everybody's like, how the fuck is he doing this? And from that look on their face, that feeling of, God, man, this guy must be something special. It then surges me further and further and faster and harder for a long time. So energy's everywhere. But the thing is, it's so loud, that voice in your head of pain and suffering and discomfort and I don't want to do this is so loud that you're unable to really calm it down and say, okay, there's something here. It's a patient calm that you have to bring to yourself to say, I know I have something here, but that voice is so powerful that it wants you just to, let's leave.
Right.
We're done. It spazzes you out and you want to go, versus saying, let's take a second. Hang on. Before we spaz the fuck out, hang on. And in that moment, you can think clearly and find that strength out there for you. My first time going through buds, I got to Hell Week, stress fractures, double pneumonia. I got rolled back day one, week one. Second time going through buds, I actually fractured my patella before I got into Hell Week. Made it through Hell Week with a fractured patella, went 2 weeks after Hell Week, and then, because why? I didn't want to get rolled back to day one, week one. Yeah. But I couldn't keep up with the class, got rolled back to day one, week one, after Hell Week. And then I went through my third time and I graduated that class. We had a guy die in that third Hell Week, class 235. It's just life, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was born, You know, I was a good kid and life beat the shit out of me for no reason. But it's up to us. It's up to us now. No one's coming back to save you. So you better start to armor your mind against the things that are going to come at you. It's not always your fault, but you got to suck it the fuck up and you got to deal with it. So that's why I believe in that structured system, because basically all you're trying to do is develop the right mindset to attack every obstacle you're going to face in life. That's all the structure is about. It's about setting up a structured system in your life so you can attack the obstacles that are going to come at you. That's basically what it's about.
How do I gain more confidence?
It starts with yourself, man. You got to start diving into those things that you are afraid of. You don't gain confidence by going to the spot that makes you feel good. It's going to be a false reality. And the second life gives you that challenge, all you want to do is go back to what made you confidence or what gave you confidence. Is that happy spot? No. What gives you confidence, what gave me confidence, was spending years at a kitchen table trying to learn how to read and write on my own. Realizing I can't learn the way you learn. I can't. But I can learn. What gives you confidence, not being afraid, is overcoming the fear. I used to stutter severely bad. So right now, I don't know how many people are going to watch this. You know what gives me confidence? Is knowing I no longer care if I sit here and start stuttering to you.
Yeah.
That's what gives me confidence, is facing these things, overcoming them. And maybe not overcoming them every day, but facing them and facing them and facing them. Pretty soon like this, you know what, man, this is where it's at. It's not in that comfort zone. It's in the discomfort zone is where my confidence is getting built. That's where it's getting built. But people want an easier answer.
Yeah.
There has to be an easier way. There's not. I'm sorry. I searched for it my entire life. The water's too cold. The sun's too hot. I'm getting up too early. Why am I doing this to myself? That's what the normal mind says. I had to start training my mind to think about how the f can I get through this? Not giving myself a way out. Never giving myself, creating a wall around all the fucking ways out in my mind. I had to slowly start to build this fucking wall so my mind knew this motherfucker is not going to give himself a way out of here. In my first hell week, I had a huge setback. I was broken. My legs were broken. I had double pneumonia. I got rolled back to day 1, week 1 of Navy SEAL training. I got through that second hell week. During the second hell week, I actually broke my knee. I continued to limp around for a couple weeks. I couldn't make it anymore. Got rolled back to day 1, week 1. I'll never forget standing there in front of Captain Bowen. He was the CEO in charge of Navy SEAL training at the time. And he had no mercy on anybody. If he believed in managing your expectations, I wouldn't be here today. He challenged me again. I was challenged my whole life, not by the mindset of managing expectations, by exceeding expectations, not by managing them. I'm standing there with crutches. I'm sitting in his office. He looks at me, he goes, Goggins, this is your last time. We're gonna push you through Navy SEAL training. This will be your 3rd hell week in 1 year. We're not gonna put you through a 4th. So this is your last time. I'm sitting there thinking, how am I gonna get through this? I'm badly jacked up. My legs are broken. My knee is messed up. And he goes, you have a couple of months to get better. A couple of months isn't gonna do it. I won't get healed up in a couple of months. But I realized I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna find a way to get through it, because why? I put barriers in my mind. So my 3rd hell week, I went in there with pretty much, I would put a black sock on first. I would get duct tape. And I duct tape my ankles all the way up to my calf every single morning. And then I put another black sock over it. And what that did, that prevented me from moving my ankle. So I didn't really, I wasn't flexing my shin as much. And I started running with just my hip flexors. In this hell week, it was a bad hell week. We had a guy die on Thursday morning of hell week. I went on to become a Navy SEAL. Greatness is not something that you meet once. It's something that you meet thousands of times in your life, and you don't reach it if you're not constantly in constant pursuit of greatness. So if my mind were to say right now, I'm great, I just lost. We're going to grow. We're not going to triple down on our strengths. We're not going to do that crap. We're going to work on our weaknesses so we grow. We need friction to do that. Without friction, there's no growth. Without friction, there's confusion. Confusion is, David Goggins, how did you become who you are today? I put a bunch of friction in my life, and I grew. That's how I did it. You know how you get mentally tough? It's a lifestyle. Instead of hitting that snooze button in the morning and not making your bed, not cleaning your house, you don't hit the snooze button. You get up. You don't want to go run, you go run. You don't want to go swim, you go swim. You don't want to make your bed, you make your bed. You don't want to clean your house, you clean your house. You don't want to study, you study. That's how you start to callous your mind. So that became my life. If you say you're going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go run, wake up at 4 o'clock it's going to suck. It's not going to be fun. Do something that sucks every single day of your life. That's how you grow. Embrace the suck. I walked in weighing 297. He looked at me strangely, and I said, I want to be a SEAL. And lucky enough, the guy looked at me and said, let's see what we can do. He weighed me. I weighed 106 pounds overweight. The guy said, man, there's a program it's about to end that you can go, and if you make it through BUD/S, you'll then go active duty,
right,
and you'll be a SEAL. If not, you come the fuck home.
Right.
And I was like, ugh. So anyway, he goes, make you lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. The first thing about it was, so I said to myself, I'm gonna run 4 miles. My first run out the gate, I'm gonna run 4 miles. I ran a mile, I ran a quarter of a mile, walked home, sat on the couch depressed. I said, man, there's no way I can do this. But what I realized though, is I wasn't gonna give up. Because I already given up a million times. And I thought about, how would I feel at 50 years old?
If you gave up now.
If I gave up now. Not to have, so I kept all this stuff in my mind. And basically, I started becoming obsessed. I slowly, it didn't happen that night on the couch.
Right.
Over a period of time, I started becoming obsessed with studying, with weight, with being somebody, with making people who thought I was gonna be nothing, kind of like, feel like I became obsessed with, you have to make this right.
Yeah.
And the only person that's gonna do it is yourself. So I became obsessed with just being obsessed. When you think that you are done, you're only 40% into what your body's capable of doing. And that's just the limits that we put on ourselves.
Got our leader of the 150 mile coming in. That's from David Goggins. He's just won the 2008 150 mile run.
You never gonna really know how I feel. I'll never really tell you the truth. I'm always gonna feel good. He's a person. I wanna feel and show you no weakness.
Congratulations, buddy. Thanks a lot, man. 150 mile champion, first place, new course record. Way to go, congratulations.
I'm never happy and satisfied with one thing I do. It's always a continuous journey. And in all my races, they never end. They just kind of fall in together. What I started figuring out going through BUD/S was that the harder something is, the more it was challenging my mind. So I had to find different ways to stay in the fight. And in staying in the fight, it got me tougher and tougher and tougher. So I'm actually happy I went through 3 hell weeks. I never examined myself. And as a human being, you gotta examine yourself. And I guess the best place to examine yourself is Navy SEAL Hell Week.
3 times.
So I got to examine myself a few times. So it started there. It started in Hell Week. And it's still going now at 43 years old. I never thought in my wildest dreams I could be a Navy SEAL. It's until you open your mind, open-mindedness creates that. We all shut down our mind. Like for instance, when I broke the pull-up record, everybody around me who heard the pull-up record was 4,020 pull-ups. That's the first thing they did. Oh my God.
4,000 in 24 hours, or was
yeah,
this?
It's 4,020 pull-ups in a 24-hour period.
Yeah, yeah.
The first thing I did versus closing my mind to like, oh my God, that's crazy. I went and got a pen
And say, how many is that every minute?
Exactly.
Every hour, every second.
Instead of taking life and making it out to be this grandiose thing, start breaking it down. Start breaking it down. And most of us, we live in a box. And we don't want to go outside that box at all, ever. Outside that box is all these possibilities of life. What we do is we shackle our mind. We are a prisoner in our own mind that this is all I can do. This is all I'm good at. And we take away the possibilities of you could be this, you could be that, you could be all these things. And I never thought at 300 pounds I could be a Navy SEAL.
Wow.
So if my mind was shackled, me and you would never meet. There'd be no book.
Right.
There'd be no book.
Right.
There'd be nothing. So what people understand is that they live for themselves, not knowing that you have the power within yourself to change millions of lives by facing life.
You once said that if you were growing up in this generation that you would have a field day because you would take their souls. What did you mean by that?
The younger generation quits, not everybody. So I gotta put that, people get their butt hurt. So not everybody. Most of this generation quits the second they get talked to. You did this wrong, or they get yelled at. It's so easy to be great nowadays because everybody else is, most people are weak. This is a softened generation. So if you have any mental toughness, any ability, if you have any fraction of self-discipline, the ability to not want to do it but still do it. People have a hard thing understand. I hate to run. And what makes me so crazy, it doesn't anymore, is people go, well, why do you run if you hate it? What are you talking about? I don't want to take showers and eat either. I hate that too. That's a life, man. It wasn't until I changed that mentality that I became somebody. I hated going to school. So guess what? I was dumb as shit. That's what, 1 + 1 is 2. But if you can get through to doing things that you hate to do, on the other side is greatness. That's what people don't understand. By me running, I am callous in my mind. I'm not training for a race. I'm training for life. I'm training for the time when I get that 2 o'clock in the morning call that my mom is dead or something happens tragic in life. I don't fall apart. I'm training my mind and my body and my spirit so it's all one, so I can handle what life is going to throw at me. Because the life I've lived, it throws a whole bunch at you. And if you're not physically and mentally prepared for that, you're just going to crumble and you're good for nobody.
Talk to me about what it takes to be on one side of a door in Iraq or anywhere, knowing on the other side of the door, people who are not afraid of you, they're ready for you to come in and you still have, and they have guns, and you still have to breach that door.
That's a great question. That's a very scary situation when you are on one side of the door and your mind is racing, because on the other side of that door, it could be no one. It could be 4 guys with 4 AK-47s. That door you're about to open could be booby-trapped. So once you open it, boom, your legs are gone. So there's 1,000 things you think about when you're the first guy, second guy, third guy, getting ready to go in a room and flood it. And that's why I talk about the warrior mentality. And that's why so many people are lost when I start talking. You have the right. You're lucky that you don't have to think like warriors think. You're very privileged. I chose this world to be a warrior, and I would choose it again if I came back to this world. But the mentality of a warrior is very different than normal mentality. You must be that person on that door, get ready to open it, thinking to yourself, if I die, so be it. The only way you can go in that door is knowing there's a great chance you're gonna die. Like being a SEAL, you train with live ammo. You jump out of an airplane, everything you do, you could die. So to be a warrior, why people don't understand me, I'm glad you don't understand me. Merry Christmas, good on you. Because being a warrior takes a whole different mindset. A whole different mindset to know that there's a great chance I may not be in the military. Like I was in for 21 years. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky that I'm alive, able to talk to you, able to still run. But when you sign up on that dotted line to be like a SEAL, your mentality changes. I may not live. You gotta accept that. And that's the mentality you have. And that's what makes you a warrior. If you're scared to die, you're a bad warrior. I hated jumping out of airplanes. I hated shooting guns. I hated the job as a Navy SEAL. But I did it because I wanted to change myself. Everything I do, I'm not really comfortable doing. But if you choose to go that route, to go be a Navy SEAL, you might as well go be the hardest in the world. Because if you're choosing to do something, you have two routes. You can go there and be a little weak person and get through barely, and that's your reputation. Or you can go through the hardest guy you can possibly be, and that's your reputation. So my whole thing is, if you're gonna choose to open that door in Iraq or Afghanistan, open the motherfucker, go in hard. Because they're gonna remember you by slowly opening it and peeking in. So if you're gonna open it, and you made the mind to open it, don't crack it open. Open the door, go in. That's with life. If you're choosing to do something, attack it. Because they're gonna remember you as not attacking it. So I want to be remembered. You can hate me, but there's one thing you can't say about me. I didn't attack it. So that's the mentality you have. If you're gonna do something, you might as well attack it, because you can do it anyway.
Right. Do you use that in civilian life? Like, do you still employ I'm gonna attack it, I'm gonna take their souls? Like, how does that play out in a non-combat zone?
It still works for me in life as far as attacking things, because no matter what I want to, no matter what avenue I choose, I want to be the very best. And the very best may not be I'm number one. The very best is, did I leave everything inside of me out there? So attacking is not like, oh, I want to win this or win that or be the best. The best is I'm running against myself in everything I do, and that's what I attack. I attack myself. I'm always questioning myself.
Well, everybody, it's Groundhog's Day again for David Goggins. If you pan it down here, you see it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's not a car or a person in sight. If you pan over here, it's the same thing. Not a car or a person in sight. People want to know where I find my strength at, where I get my strength. I get it from a lot of places, but right now, this morning, I'm getting it from, there's not a motherfucker that's up. There's not a car, there's not a person. Everybody's in their bed, sleep, dreading that it's a Monday, hate it's a Monday. And I'm loving it. I'm loving that. Where everybody's getting weaker, I'm getting stronger. It's not about the running, the swimming, the push-ups, the sit-ups. It's about what those things do for your mentality. You don't get better on the daggone couch. You get better by coming out here and getting the after it every daggone day. Stay hard.
I often talk about taking souls. This morning, this person, I usually train alone. This person wanted to run with me. And I said, fine, we'll run 15. This morning comes, there's storms coming in this way, and the person calls and said, hey, why don't we do it tomorrow? Taking souls is when I told the motherfucker, I'm gonna run 15 today, and I'll run with you again tomorrow. That's what taking souls is about. Don't worry about the elements and what's going on. You gotta get out there and get it. And that's taking souls, and obviously, he wasn't the only one that thought about taking the day off, because the storm is coming in right now, and there's not a soul out here but me.
You genuinely are a legit badass.
Right.
And at one point in time, you were a legit terrified person.
Yes.
So what was the process? Like, how did you step forth?
Well, it's a long process.
Right.
My dad beat the shit out of me when I was growing up. I was the first black baby born in this hospital called Miller Fillmore in Buffalo, New York. My dad owned skating rinks, he owned bars, he ran prostitutes from Canada to Buffalo, New York. My dad was a big time pimp, big time, anything bad about a person, big time hustler. He was American, you know that movie with Denzel Washington? Mm-hmm. He was that, but not that bad.
Right.
You know, he wasn't that big, but that's what it reminds me of. He was that kind of guy.
and beat the shit out of me, beat the shit out, out of my mom. There was an incident one time when my mom got knocked out on top of the stairs, and he dragged her down the stairs by her hair. And at 6 years old, I'll never forget this. In my mind, I was always afraid. My whole life I was afraid, but I had this voice, this conscience that would always be battling me, saying, hey, you got to get up and do something. I didn't want to do shit. I was just afraid, but that voice would force me to get up. And my dad, I tried to beat him up, whatever, at 6, and I get my ass kicked. So this went on for several years. And I have a big time learning disability because my dad didn't believe in us going to school. So my dad, it was about the business, the skating rink and the bar. So the skating rink opened about 7 o'clock at night. And this is the time I was able to walk. So about 4, 5, 6 years old, 8, 9. And I go to this, skating rink at 7 o'clock at night. And I worked the skating rink until 10 at night. And then we would scrape the gum off the floors and we cleaned the whole skating rink up. And then my dad had an office. And my brother and myself would sleep in the office. And my mom would go upstairs and work the bar until 3 o'clock in the morning. And then they cleaned the bar up. So after all that shit was done with, going to school rarely happened. So when I went to school, I was all kind of, my learning disability. I had social anxiety. I was just a jacked up kid from living in this tortured home. From the outside looking in, we lived in an all-white neighborhood, and then we would travel to the ghetto of Buffalo, New York, where the skating rink was at. So we worked around mostly blacks, and I lived around mostly whites, but no one knew what was going on in that house on 201 Paradise Road. It's crazy. I believe that most human beings are only living at about 40% of their capability. So the mind has a governor, like a car. If you're driving a car and the car has a governor on it, the car may say 130 miles an hour, but the governor is set for 91. Once that governor sets in, you get to 91, that car starts doing this. The car wants to go. The car wants to go, but that factory said, we're not going past 91. We have a factory, a nice governor in our brain, and it's a survival mechanism. It protects us from pain and suffering. The second we feel that, our mind says, oh no, this isn't fun. We should back off. We should sit down, find something more comfortable. And there's something about the mind. The mind has the tactical advantage over you at all times. At all times of your life, the mind has a tactical advantage over you. Why is that? It knows what you're afraid of. It knows your insecurities. It knows your deep, dark lies. And it starts to push you away from that. It pushes you in a direction that is comfortable. The mind controls everything. So what I realized was that when I was growing up and I was 300 pounds and I got all fat and I got all insecure, I realized that my mind kept taking me in this direction. When things got uncomfortable for me, when I was facing my insecurities, I was facing my fears, my mind said, oh no, we have the tactical advantage. We need to get you, separate you from this feeling over here. Life's all about feelings. We want the happy feeling. We don't want that feeling of this sucks. Why am I here? And you don't have any, so you can't answer those questions, so you leave. I started realizing that if in that moment you can answer those fucked up questions and you are now in charge of your brain versus your brain ruling you, that's where all that stuff comes from. So the 40% rule is all of that. You get to 40%, your brain says, we're done. Let's roll, man. This is starting to get painful. This is uncomfortable. So you sit down. You have to figure out ways, and everybody's different. That's how the book kind of talks about, like we all have these things about, 5 steps to this and 4 steps to this. It's a lot more than that. That's all bullshit. It's a practice that you have to, it's a habit. So if you know that at 40%, I'm feeling pain. At 40%, I'm feeling pain. That's where the 40% rule kicks in. Now it starts. Okay, I'm feeling pain. My mind's saying all this to me. It's saying, get out of here, run, flee. The fight or flight kicks in. Okay, we're done. We're not good enough. It starts telling you all these things. You start to believe it because the mind controls all. This is the time where you have to gain control back of your mind. It's okay. Let me see if I can go 45%. And once you start giving yourself more and more hope and start realizing, okay, the mind starts to be, okay, what are you doing? We're supposed to be going right and you're going left. You start then controlling your mind. Start finding more in yourself. And then it goes from 40% to a lot further than that.
But that's the start of it though. Get to the spot where your mind is saying stop. Wherever that is, you gotta get there first. And then that's when that starts to work for you. You gotta control yourself in that moment. We believe, like so many people, before I give them a workout plan, they're talking about recovery. Everybody that hears me speak, they wanna go straight to recovery. Work out first. Work out first before you talk to me about recovery.
How to recover, yeah.
Work out first. We are always looking for, like whenever I talk to people, people take my words and they put it in a way to where they want to feel comfortable. This guy, you know, they want to put you in a box. They want to put a title on you. No, you're putting a title on me to make yourself feel better about yourself. If you read this book of mine and you see where I came from, this person was not built. This person was not made by God. Mm-hmm. This person was built. I made this person. I made this person by diving into the insecurities that life gave me. Because now they're yours. They're yours to own. If you're not smart, call yourself dumb. It's okay, because you are. But take that, not as you putting yourself down. If you're fat, call yourself fat. I used to be 300 pounds. We want to talk so soft to ourselves. We're looking for that recovery day. And that recovery day is everything in your life. Everything in your life is a recovery day. We're looking for it. It's not coming. It's not coming. Mm-hmm. Get over that recovery day. And that's the mentality I took with me. And what happened through that process was all the frivolous things of life started to float away. I used to tell people lies so they would like me. Because I was so insecure. When you start to build yourself up and start to have the one thing that we don't have is confidence. Yep. Real, authentic confidence from hard work. Everything else goes away. You no longer look to other people for your self-esteem.
For validation.
That's right.
Yeah.
You now know. I walk in a room now and I know the hours and years and decades I put into David Goggins. That's something, it's not on the wall. It's not a trophy on the wall. It's not a medal on your neck. It is actually a feeling in your heart. And people go, why don't you ever smile? I don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have a stoic look on my face. I'm a very focused person. But the feeling I have in my soul and in my heart, that's why I don't need to smile. I don't need to smile. I don't need you to look at me and say, oh my God, you look happy. Because half of us aren't happy. Mm-hmm. We're giving you something that we think you want to see. I don't do that anymore. I don't care how you perceive David Goggins. Because through my journey, I figured out the one piece I was missing. I thought it was cars. I thought it was women. I thought it was money. I thought it was everything. The one piece I was missing was me having the courage to face myself.
You made this decision to self-publish this book.
Yes, sir.
Right now, it's at like number 2 or number 3 on Amazon of all books.
Right.
That just doesn't happen with a self-published book.
I see something that's quite off, quite not the same, and that's what I go for. This book is exactly who I am as a person. Exactly the way I did this book is how I've done almost my entire life. Mm-hmm. Is I see what is not the norm, what's impossible, what all the theorists say you shouldn't be doing this. That's the wrong way to go. Look in the mirror and say, I'm okay with being afraid. I'm okay with going on this easy highway over here. The easy highway has all these fucking signs, directions, how to get somewhere. And you have to first be uncomfortable with how you feel about yourself. With that voice that a lot of us like to run away from, we all have it. We all have that voice that say, hey man, you're kind of wimping out right now. You're kind of being a little punk right now. But a lot of us say, okay, that's okay. It's okay to tell these little white lies to ourselves. So we first have to face the real you. The real me is David Goggins. The real me is a guy looking at you right now saying, I don't want to fucking be on this show right now because I used to stutter as a kid. And I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid that here in a second, I'm going to start fucking stammering and stuttering and the whole world is going to know that I have all these issues. But that's when I see right now, okay, Goggins, you got to go on this show. That's Goggins. Goggins is saying, okay, David Goggins, you're a punk. Life made you this way. We can't live like this. We can't live in fear. We can't live in judgment. We can't be afraid of what the people right now are looking at me saying about me. We cannot be afraid of that. That's Goggins. Goggins saying, all of you who don't like me, who don't want to, and that person then comes in. But you have to be David Goggins and say, man, I'm afraid of this. I'm up here. Life made me this way here. I stutter. I have these issues with reading and writing, and I'm fat and I'm insecure. You have to face that in that dark room. In that dark room is who you are. But in that dark room is where you have to create another human being that walks out of that dark room to face who you are. That's the only way you're going to get over all those things. You have to create someone else. Not like you have two different personalities. It is you. But you have to find strength. And that visualization of almost me cracking out Goggins, like almost like that Superman cape, like I'm coming out a different person, a person that doesn't give a fuck about anything, who doesn't care about being judged, who knows I'm weak, who knows I'm afraid, who says, whatever you think about me, take it, whatever, I'm here. That's Goggins. In the dark room, you face yourself, you realize you want to be better, you realize you don't want to be this weak, insecure person in the world who has all these problems that we all have. We all have. Social media is a great platform to tell you who we want to be, not who we are. So that's where that dark room is. I'm not a big guy on social media. I'm just not big on that stuff. Even today, I'm just not a big fan of it, man. I'm a big introvert. I get a lot of my strength from being introverted. And going out there and doing what I do is all this is very difficult for me, man.
I don't know, what do you have, like 600,000 plus on Instagram or something like that? Yeah. And for somebody you're averse to it, you don't like it, you hate it, you only post once in a while, you don't really advertise what you're doing at all, but you've grown this huge following of people who are super interested in what you're doing.
Well, I think it's important to do things you don't like. And I was very ashamed of my life story for a long time. I didn't want to go out and tell anybody shit about me. So that's why I had two people. I created one David Goggins and one Goggins.
Right.
And I didn't want people to know that I had all these issues. But after a while, people start to give you these different taglines. Like, you're superhuman, you're amazing. I'm like, you fuckers don't know anything about me, man. Like, I'm this insecure kid. And I started realizing there's a lot of people out here who are going through a lot of problems that I once tapped into. I had a whole bunch of issues growing up. And, I felt compelled to this, you got to start sharing this stuff, man, because people see where you're at today. They see where you're at today. They see the man you are today, this rock hard human being. Show these people where you come from.
Right.
Show these people it's possible. I was spraying for cockroaches when I got out of the Air Force. I was spraying for cockroaches. I was about 297 to be exact. And I saw this Discovery Channel show on TV, and I was like, and that Discovery Channel show was just guys going through Hell Week. And I saw these guys freezing, a lot of water, and I was like, you know what? It brought back memories of me going through pararescue training. So at 297 pounds, I decided to try to be a Navy SEAL. And to make a long story short, I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. And that's where it became challenging for me. So I knew to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months, you're looking at 3,500 calories is a pound. So I was basically doing a whole bunch of math in my head. So I knew if I were to stop and be stagnant, there was no calories being burned. So I just basically trained all day long. So that's how I went. And before I knew it, I lost the weight. Well, it's that time of year again. We start to feel real happy. Why? Because we're not going to work. If you believe in Santa Claus and you celebrate Christmas, you're looking forward to Santa Claus coming down the chimney, giving you some presents. It's a real good time of year. So in that good time of year, we start to feel real good about ourselves. So I start to feel great. So we start making promises to ourselves about, hey, I'm gonna lose some weight. I'm gonna do better in school. I'm gonna be better here, be better there. But guess what happens? The real Merry Christmas happens when all of that noise is gone, it's quiet, and it's you against you, and now all those endorphins are gone. And I promise you made about getting up early and getting after it to go lose weight, study harder, guess what? It's a lot harder now. That repetition becomes a lot harder now. So a lot of us can't do things on our own. So find somebody in your life. So when you throw that towel in, they throw that motherfucker back at you and say you're not done yet. Stay true to yourself, stay hard. As you're trying to fix yourself, and dig yourself out of this deep hole that life, society, and you helped also. Those people who you saw down there in that hole who were there with you, who were your friends and people who you counted on, because you meet the people in the same situation that you're in life. Those people become your friends. And second, you try to get out of that situation and become better. Those people are in that grave, in that dungeon, just yanking at your heels, man, saying, get the back. Oh, no, come on back here, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna make me feel like you getting out of this hole.
Who the do you think you are?
So I get that all the time now. People would constantly remind me of who I used to be back in the day. When you really sit back at your life and you are in that dark room and you're looking at where you started from and you tell yourself, God, dog, man, my mom is this way. My soon-to-be stepdad got murdered. My dad beat the shit out of me. I can't read and write to save my soul. I've lied about it to everybody. I've cheated on all these tests. My God, man. And then you put a goal in your mind. How are you going to feel, man, when you accomplish this goal coming from the hell you came from? A lot of people start from a good starting point. They have a good foundation. What if you can surpass all of these motherfuckers? What if everybody who was way up here started up here and you started with no legs. You had to grow legs to even start walking and then crawling and then running. And then you start passing people and all this given to them. I had to use all this negative shit that was making me weak and horrible as a person. I had to use this as the power that now fueled me. I had to flip it on its head and say, hold up. This might be exactly what I need. The darkness is exactly what I need. It's how you look at your situation. Is I have the ability to see the end before the beginning even begins. And what that means is I know that to get to the very end, I can see it right now. So before I went to Buds and I was losing all this fucking weight and shit, I saw myself walking across the stage at 191 fucking pounds, 'cause that's what I had to get to get into the door. I saw myself 6 months, a year later, whatever's gonna take me to do it, I saw myself walking across that stage, getting that certificate of graduation from Buds. And I was able to be there at 300 pounds. And that feeling that I was nowhere near that fucking feeling, I was able to put myself there 1,000,000 times every fucking day. And that feeling of like, my God, that is going to feel amazing. That's what made me suffer. That's what allowed the pain to be real and say, this is worth it. I want to feel for this fucking next 18 months. It took me 18 fucking months to finally become a Navy SEAL, to finally, just get through Buds. 18 months. It's 6 months. It took me 18. That's what woke me up every fucking morning was I'm going to put myself through this much pain and suffering for a few seconds. That's all it is. A few seconds of joy. And it's so worth it, man. That's what people don't get. So I'm able to put myself at the finish line, even though I have no finish line, but at the finish line of an event before I even start the motherfucker. Say, how are you going to feel at the end of this? Visualizing is my biggest tool of life. That's why I've been able to put myself in cold water, put myself in a 100-mile race millions of times before I've done it. And I'm able to go through the race and see how I'm going to feel at mile 50. Almost to the exact feeling.
Right. So when it comes up, it's no surprise.
It's no surprise. I've already done this 1,000,000 times.
What was the greatest lesson your mom taught you growing up?
Honestly, the greatest lesson she ever taught me is a lesson that she doesn't know how much she taught me because she wasn't much in the teaching mode. My dad took her soul. But what I did as a young kid is I observed everybody. I wasn't really smart in the books, but I was real smart when it came to life. And I was able to sit back and watch her mistakes. I was able to see how she struggled through life and how I don't want to struggle through life. And I was able to see, she never picked me up. The biggest thing she did for me, and this is honest to God truth, and she doesn't even know she did it. When I would bust my ass, when I would fail, when I was at the bottom of the sewer, she never picked me up. She never gave me that cookie and said, hey son, it's gonna be okay. She didn't have time for that. And sometimes she gets upset when I talk about my past because it paints her out to be not the best mom. If I had any kind of mom in that kind of environment, I would have never made it. Because she forced me, for every reason, she forced me to, you better figure this out or you're gonna be a statistic.
Wow.
And this is something that she didn't sit down and tell me. I realized this. This is the world that is in front of me. And what most people do is they see this world and they look at it as an excuse to get out of it.
Yeah.
I started looking at it as this is the ultimate training ground for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have all these valuable lessons, because if you look out in the world right now today, it's not a nice place, but I'm very prepared for it.
Yeah, you are.
I'm prepared for it. I'm prepared for all the failure coming my way. I'm prepared for everything my way. And that's the biggest lesson that she taught me by not teaching me, by never saying it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, she told me the exact opposite. Life sucks. You are your own hero. You are your own leader. You are your own master. And that is a big one, because we idolize so many people, and we want to be them. We want to be someone else. And in doing that, you lose all the potential of who you are. You mimic, you be them, you are them, you become them, and you lose you. And we look up to so many people in this world who will let us down. We're humans. I'm going to let you down. You're going to let somebody down. And you put them on a pedestal, you then lose time when that person comes up and lets you down.
Mm-hmm.
You must hold yourself accountable, and being your own hero, that's what that does. You make yourself so totally accountable for who you are. You focus on you and only on you to become the best person you could be for others. Because we leave a lot on the table, not searching who we are. And then therefore you die not knowing your greatest potential. So I'm sitting there and I think I'm gonna die. And worst shape of my life. And I'm in this tub and I'm jackhammering and I had this hot water hitting me, and I'm literally in the worst pain. My shins, my feet, I'm broken. And I'm just sitting, I'm cramping up. And she said, we gotta get you to the doctor. You know, your mom's worried, I'm worried about, like, we've never seen this before in my life. And I go, I'm not going anywhere. Huh. I wanna sit here and enjoy this pain. Oh. And I know the listeners hearing this are gonna say, man, you're a nut. No, I'm not. What I got a chance to experience in that 19 hours and 6 minutes of my life was something I didn't want any painkillers. This was proof positive. What I was feeling is what I just did. I did something without training, without coaching, without a cheering staff, without any knowledge. I took a raw human being with no training whatsoever, put him out in a condition, and just through this alone, got through it. Amazing. And I sat there and I was like, it was the best feeling I've ever had and will ever have in my entire, I was in the worst pain in my life, and it was the best feeling I ever had in my life. Not because of the pain I was in, but the pain was confirmation of, my God, did I just do that? Wow. And I had completed hell weeks, but that right there was like, don't take this from me. Man. And it was confirmation, proof positive, that this young kid that came from that wasn't shit, that lied and cheated I was now the truth. The one major question I got was, how do I finish where I start? I get 2 weeks into it and then I stop. Well, this is the thing about it. People forget one thing about me. I used to be you. I used to be a fat guy, a guy that didn't care much, a guy that got D's and F's in school, a guy that blamed other people, a guy that was under mediocre. I wasn't even average. So this is the thing about it. I'm going to tell you what people don't want to tell you. Why you stop is because you're lazy. It's because you don't mind getting bad grades in school. It doesn't bother you enough to be mediocre, to be average, to sit around and watch people do great things. You don't mind it. So there's your answer. Your answer is you don't care enough about yourself so you don't stay in the fight. Stay hard.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.